Oops. Didn't have to see that. Sorry about that. Hey everyone, Swordsman here. Welcome to the Crimson Sakura Lounge. Come on in, my dear friends. There's a chair and a drink waiting for you. So, I suppose one of those days comes in twos, because today has been quite a busy day for me. Where do I even begin? So, for starters, I finally had the place to myself, which is something of a rarity these days when you live with your mom and two younger brothers who, let's just say, are a little much. And that didn't last long, and I can tell you why. For one thing, they came home early. Another thing is they left the house in a complete mess. So I spent a good majority of my time doing the dishes, doing some laundry, throwing away the garbage, and just barely had enough time to get on my walk and have a bit of me time to reflect. And what I mean by that is trying to figure out what kind of a VTuber I wanted to be. I came to a realization of something. I really am trying to be the best version of myself, and yet at the same time, I don't feel like comparing myself to other VTubers is a good thing. I mean, I know a lot of us do that. A lot of us seem to have that sort of mentality that we have to be this certain copy of another VTuber who is very successful, very good at their audience, and good at what they do. But at the same time, they're not me. Sure, they might influence me in a certain way, but their content and my content are two very different things. Nostalgia and good vibes is really what my channel is all about. And sure, while there are a few people who do that kind of thing, they're not exactly in the same, I don't want to say category, that sounds a bit much. The same spectrum, same caliber, I don't know. Like, something around those lines. My larger point is I want to do my own thing, and I want to not just follow the herd, so to speak. I know, it's kind of cliche, and even niches can really fall apart if that's all you're willing to do. But sometimes it's worth the experimentation. You never know when something will come your way. I always been a believer that if you're just patient enough and if you hold out just a little longer than when most people would, good things would come your way. So, I am hopeful for that. At the same time, would be nice if it got done sooner rather than later, if you get what I mean. Sorry for a minute, I'm setting my phone on Do Not Disturb, which is a very nice feature some phones have these days, and one that I recommend you all practice. I mentioned this before in an earlier stream, but I think we all make ourselves a little too readily available when it comes to being around people. Like, I know it's not something that all of us can do. If you have a family member that you need to be around all the time to help, or if you're the only person someone can contact and they need your help, then by all means, that's fine. I understand that. I've been in that position before. That being said, when it comes to doing content creation or just having a moment of respite to breathe and take in your surroundings, it really doesn't hurt to take a breather. The world can survive without you for a couple hours. At least that's what I hope so. On another note, I want to apologize firsthand about how I handled the whole Kudelka and Parasite Eve stream yesterday. I'm very sorry for those who had to deal with the scuff and the constant crashes. I also apologize that I got frustrated after running around like a headless chicken for several minutes, only to die from a mini-boss battle that I wasn't even prepared for, and swapped games midstream. Like, I try to keep a cool head when I can, and I apologize if that wasn't being the best way of handling it. I promise I'll do better, and I promise that next time, for sure, we'll go back into the Kudelka, and then we'll go full regalia. That is my hope. With that said, I think it's time we try to go back to some more simpler things. So, putting Ume Neko on the back burner for now, I decided it would be a good time to go back into Higurashi, since we left that really unfinished and I kept swapping over between that and Ume Neko a few more times than I wanted to. And, you know, it's one of those things where I like to get back to my roots, so to speak. I enjoy reading visual novels as much as anyone. In fact, I feel like that's the only way I can get people excited about reading, because it's basically an interactive manga with a few added scenes here and there. Not that there's any on Higurashi, so to speak. There isn't really any real choices, so to speak. You're mostly just listening and reacting to what's going on. I do wish, though, that the Steam version of Higurashi was a little more ballsy and actually added in some of the illustrations from the other iterations of the game. Of course, I can understand why. Like, directly on the PlayStation 2 version, there were a lot of scenes that had to be cut out because it was considered too graphic at the time. And anyone who's watched the anime will know exactly what I mean. And now to this day, after reading Chapter 1, I live in fear of eating red bean buns anymore. I feel like anytime I'm about to bite into mochi, my first reaction is, please, for the love of God, don't let there be a sewing needle in them. I will freak the F out if that happens. See, that's the thing about these stories. They can really trigger some hidden fears that you didn't have before. And yet, somehow, they surprise you without any warning. It's like, right in your face. Right in your face. Sir Blubs, your hat is kind of on my line of sight. Do you mind if you, you know, are you gonna... No? Okay. That's his favorite spot. He likes that spot for some reason. Now, this will be interesting for sure, because I was so used to using my PNG for so long, because it sort of blended in with the whole visual novel thing, that moving into Vroid, it feels kind of jarring, because now there's an actual character here that can move around and do all this reaction stuff. So this will be an interesting change of pace. I will say, though, if for some reason you guys are tired of the visual novels and you want me to get into more mainline games, then by all means, let me know through my Blue Sky or, we have a Discord group for the Crimson Sakura Lounge. It is available to join at any time. By all means, if you have any suggestions, I'm willing to hear them within reason. If you just keep pressuring me to do something that I really don't want to do, you're going to get banned. Just plain and simple. If you are trying to push this in like, hey, you should play this, you should play this, you should play this, play this, play this, play it right now, drop everything and play it right now. Like, no, I will ban you. I don't like being told what to do most days. I will take suggestions. I won't respond to threats or peer pressure, though. Although, that is to say, peer pressure does work. Bullying gets results, as the Russian Badger would tell you. Since he somehow was able to get Payday 2 to add that comedically oversized spoon, gold-plated, by the way, in a game. Which is kind of silly, but you know what, why not? Speaking of which, I haven't played Payday 2 in a long time. I don't know if there's anything new with it. Payday 3, I've heard pretty mixed reactions to it, but the consensus is that there really isn't enough for them to do much, and that the price tag that they're asking for is a bit high for what's currently on offer. Although I do hear Jacket from Hotline Miami will be making his appearance once again in that game. So, a little excited. Which, by the way, Hotline Miami, that's another game I'm interested in streaming, but the thing is, though, I've kind of already beaten it a couple of times. That and Hotline Miami 2. And I feel like just playing games that I've already played is gratuitous at this point. That it's really more of my excuse of just playing a game that I've already played a number of times. That said, if you guys still want me to do it, I will do it. Funny thing though, while I was perusing around the Steam store for any sort of sales going on, I heard that Star Wars Dark Forces was currently on sale. And I think it's worth a purchase for the very amazingly low price of just $5. This is not an ad, by the way. Nobody is paying me to say this. Not yet, anyway. And first-person shooters from the 90s, or quote-unquote boomer shooters, as they're now called by the Gen Zers these days, they really have a bit of a soft spot for me. I think one of the first ones I ever played, aside from Dark Forces, was Duke Nukem 3D. Hey, Reggie, welcome on to the Crimson Sakura Lounge. Hope you enjoy your stay. Oh yeah, I'm way ahead of you. I chugged so much water before coming online. That's one of the downsides of living in the desert, is that summer gets a bit of a head start here. Especially around the Mojave. So, you know how people usually say, dry heat isn't that bad, it's the humidity. You know what else has dry heat? A freaking oven. So, yeah, don't tell me that it's the humidity, because it is the heat. It is, in fact, the heat. The heat is what causes summer to be hot. Looks like a microphone that you're talking into. Whoops, do you have a microphone in your hat? I'm just wondering. Actually, what is that little spot right there? Why is it blinking? That's probably nothing. I would tell him to move, but he says that's his favorite spot, and he has yet to finish that Shirley Temple that I just made him. I don't know why people like Shirley Temples that much. It really just seems like a really expensive fruit juice, if I'm being honest. See, that's the thing I have, my little gripe about non-alcoholic mixed drinks, is that they're still priced like cocktails. So, if you go into a bar and you feel like spending $12 on what is essentially a soda with lime juice, cherry juice, and sugar, well, you clearly have higher priorities than me. I do often hear people try to find ways to discredit bars, saying that they overcharge them because they're essentially having half of the glass with a giant ice cube. And my only reaction is, why would you ever order a drink that is hot and is filled to the brim? The whole point of cocktails is to sip and sample them. You know that, right? If you wanted to get sloshed, then you may as well just buy yourself a bottle of your favorite spirit, go home, and just down the whole bottle. Actually, don't do that. That would be dangerous. I don't know if any of you are stupid enough to do that. I just don't want to be held responsible. Also, drinking alcohol during the summer would be something I wouldn't recommend, especially whiskey. It's a vasoconstrictor. It actually constricts the blood, thus dehydrating you more, which causes you to be even thirstier. We don't encourage drinking whole bottles in one sitting. Exactly. I would not recommend that. I mean, I don't drink as much, to be honest. I only have maybe 1 or 2 glasses in social settings, if that. If it's just me, like, okay, here's the thing. I only drink whiskey straight out of the bottle on a shot glass to help with sore throats and some digestion problems. Because I didn't realize this, but whiskey is actually so high in proof that it actually kills the bacteria that's surrounding it. I actually saw this in a science channel. They actually put a drop of whiskey in a little plexiglass filled with germs. 1 drop, and boom. They all died in a split second. And I used to joke about that because my stepdad, he would always be around with a bottle of Jack Daniels. And he said that it was the best medicine for him. I just thought it was an excuse for him to drink during the morning. But, I actually started doing research. When I got into mixology, I actually looked in some of the history of some of these drinks. And it's actually pretty cool. Whiskey is definitely a very strong disinfectant. Has been for years. You learn a little bit when you actually get into mixing drinks. That's why I enjoy old fashions and Manhattans a lot. Negronis are definitely hit or miss for me. Gin is an acquired taste, to be sure. There's a reason why you don't see too many people get crazy about botanicals in mixed drinks. Also, I don't ever want to make a Long Island iced tea for anyone. Those are not drinks. That's what you get someone when they had a really bad life. Not a bad day, a bad life. Those are for housewives who definitely are not happy in their relationship. And you can take that to the bank. Wait, they do? They actually drink Long Island iced teas. Why? What would possess them to think that drinking every single spirit in the bar mixed with Coke is a good idea? Like, why? Are you trying to forget something that far in your past? I mean, I guess you kind of have to if you're drinking to begin with, but you know, it's not my forte. Long Island iced teas are definitely one of those quote-unquote bartender drinks that everyone seems to think is an icon. I think the Long Island is disgusting. So many people like it, but me, I'm the weird one, and it's my job to please. I don't know. Wait, Reggie, what's your favorite cocktail? I never got a chance to ask. Do you have a favorite cocktail, or are you just a beer drinker? Frozen pina coladas. You know what? I approve of that. Those are very good summertime drinks. Definitely the kind of drink that you want when you're by the pool or out on the beach on a hot summer day. That first sip, that refreshment, that crisp, just before you get into the water. Like, I approve of that. To be fair, though, I barely know how to make many tropical drinks. I think the closest I've ever made was a margarita. And I think another one was a Mai Tai. Only type of beer I ever drink is Asahi, which is a rice beer. Ah! Those are those Japanese beers, right? I've seen quite a few people drink those. I've never had a chance to try them, though. My stores don't have any taste, I guess. So those are kind of things I have to special order. And they're expensive, especially since they sell by the case. Seriously, though, if you order something by a bottle, they will still charge you like $30. No. My life is worth more than one beer. You know, I just forgot what I originally was talking about. I just went off a tangent when then we ended up talking about drinks. And now I lost my train of thought. The drinks you made before. Oh, right. I definitely enjoy, I enjoyed making old fashions, and I actually do how to make a margarita and a martini. A gin martini, of course. Vodka martinis are definitely hit or miss. There's also something called a dirty martini, which adds olive juice to it. And that's great if you enjoy the taste of seawater. Nobody enjoys the taste of seawater. So, let's see. I actually have this book here right next to me right now. And it's actually a book that got me into some drinks. It's called Modern Classic Cocktails, 60 plus stories and recipes from the new golden age in drinks. There were definitely a lot of variations of classic cocktails that were modified. And this here was written by a very... Not only was he a nominated author, he's also a New York Times seller and a spirits writer, Robert Simonson. I think I've read this book so many times. And this is actually a list of his favorite drinks. Mezcal plus tequila cocktails. The martini, old-fashioned, proper drink, and 3-ingredient cocktails. He has like a number of books published on this. This was one that I got, and it has a lot of very interesting variations of classic cocktails. There's even some with a bit of a Latino variations with it. Definitely has some very unique spirits that I haven't heard of before. There's also some that call for very specific variants of vodka and gin. Definitely an interesting book. If I ever get a hand cam and the equipment, I will definitely do like maybe a little fun episode where I teach you all how to make every cocktail. And by every cocktail, I don't mean every cocktail, because that would be insane. Oh, a Mai Tai. Okay, that one I can actually get behind. Mai Tais are definitely a little more tolerable than Long Island's. So for those of you who don't know, a Mai Tai is basically the classic variation of a Mai Tai is rum, pineapple juice, lime, and syrup. There's actually quite a few ways on how you can do this. I do recommend that if you do start your own bar, you should actually make sure that you have fresh juice. Fresher the better. Colder the better. So, let's see. How do you make a Mai Tai? So yeah, this is what you want. You want to use white rum. I don't know how many of you avoid Bacardi. There are other white rums that you can use if you don't like that. Orange curacao, lime juice. There's also this stuff called... It's called Orgeat. It's sort of a very... It's a very hard to make sort of sweet and creamy syrup. It requires you to make like... It's basically almond milk with brandy. Which sounds pretty awesome, now that I think about it. It also calls for like a little topping of dark rum. So that's like 2 ounces of 2 different rums. And of course, you're supposed to decorate it with a lime wheel and sprig of mint. It's definitely a very interesting choice. Elvis Presley actually enjoyed these while he was making the movie Blue Hawaii. Very interesting for sure. Yeah, pineapple definitely would complement a Mai Tai much better than mint, I guess. But, I mean, this is the classic recipe made by Trader Vic from the 1940s. So, I guess they had a difference in taste. There's also some variants of the Mai Tai where they play around with Jamaican rum. I guess that's, it's supposed to have a little bit more of a banana texture to it. I don't know. I might try that one day. we'll see what happens. Okay. I think I've rambled about nonsense long enough, so we'll get started on the game. Oh, if I made a Mai Tai? Really? Okay then. I'll be sure to put that on the list then. If I ever get the opportunity, I'll definitely give it a try. I never made a Mai Tai before, so that'll be an interesting choice. Alright. It's already been a little bit over an hour. I think I've rambled long enough. We're going to take a short intermission and then get ready to read more on Higurashi. So, get yourself something to eat, something to drink, go to the bathroom, get some chores done. We'll be back in just a moment. And we're back. At least I hope we're back. Is my thing... Why am I frozen? Why am I frozen? Alright, I think we're all set here. Hold on a minute. There's something going on with me. Okay, I don't know why my mouth is starting to act a little funny. I guess it takes a while for it to register now. Seems to be working now. Alright, here we go. So, I sort of remember where we left off, although admittingly it has been a while. From what we found out, not only has Satoko been living with an abusive uncle, it has now been established that she had also sort of been a little bit of a troubled child with her father. And that's mostly the reason why Child Services is so hesitant to help her. It's also very apparent that whatever's going on has definitely not been very good for her mental health, which anyone in an abusive relationship would tell you. Moving on to that point, there also seems to be a bit of a conundrum going on, as it seems that as soon as Keiichi gets within 2 feet of her, she starts to have a bit of a panic attack. And now Keiichi is convinced that whatever her uncle did definitely had an effect on her. So that means he has finally snapped. And the only consensus and the only cure for that is murder. And he was able to figure that all out in such a short span of time, which is very interesting because I don't think I've seen too many visual novels where the main character ends up being the one snapping. At least not to this extent. So this will be a very interesting swap up from what we normally see. I will say, though, that I am unsure how this will work. Because up until this point, Keiichi has been the victim in a couple of chapters. And now, he's turning into the bad guy, essentially. So now he's the one who's snapping, instead of just Rena and Mion. So, I'm very curious how this will play out. Alright. I think we're all set. Alright. Hope you all got some popcorn and some drinks going on. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? I'll try to hide the mouse so it's not so in the way. I forgot if we have any new tips. Let's check. Okay, we got a couple of new tips. Emergency and D23 number 44. So, before we can officially continue things, let's take a quick look at these. June 18th, 1983. Abuse issue regarding Satoko Hojo. Urgent. We propose that Satoko Hojo must be taken into immediate custody based on the items below. 1. Family situation. Life with adopted father who recently returned to Hinamazawa has already turned disastrous, and she is currently subject to unendurable physical and mental abuse from her father. 2. Child Consultation Center's response. A child probation officer was dispatched yesterday on the 17th from the prefecture welfare office, but because of the 77 case, changed into continued coaching and cautionary action. Unfortunately, the consultation office head does not properly understand the situation. Just another case of miscommunication, it seems. 3. Status of concerned child. Child already appears to be suffering from an outbreak of something close to neurosis or manic depression. If her unstable pubescent mind is negatively stimulated by stress, it will put her development of a healthy body and mind at risk. This cannot allow to continue from a humane standpoint. So that whole thing where she bawled out of sheer randomness just when Keiichi tried to touch her head, that was a more like a manic episode. So whatever he did, the father, of course, it definitely had an effect on her. Very interesting. 4. Allegations made to the family court. We propose, based on the items above, that Satoko Hojo should immediately be taken into protective custody. She should be secured temporarily under emergency allegations to the family court under Article 28. We request emergency coordination between all related agencies. So there was an effort in how to get her out of that situation. But because of the certain stipulants that were going on, and the case of it being all we can do is wait, it's not exactly an easy fix. At least that's what I'm getting at. Let's look at this. Fukuji Show D23 number 44. 1977. Child name Satoko Hojo. Some years old. Residence Hinamazawa Village, Shishibon. Consultation circumstances. Telephone SOS from child of child abuse. Abuse situation. Child claims she is being physically abused by her adoptive father. Family structure. White circle marks abuser. Adoptive father, real mother, older brother, child in question. Note. Adoptive father and real mother entered family registry in 1990. Blah. The child is the daughter of the mother's previous husband. Child Consultation Center's response. On the day of the child's telephone consultation, the center calls the child's school and asked her situation. On that day, the child welfare officer on duty visited the child's house and conducted an interview. The adoptive father sincerely listened to the instructions and agreed to take child-raising workshops in the city from now on. As a part of the suggested coaching, the center will continue to observe the situation. Other notes. As a result of numerous counseling sessions at the city's education consultation office regarding the child, we learned that there was a high possibility the cause of the child's excessive distrust towards her adoptive father was the result of a lack of communication. The abuse she claimed hadn't actually taken place. She had made a false report to distance herself from her adoptive father. Below is a note written in pencil by the person on duty at the time. The problem appeared to be more with the daughter. Chief Investigator F of the city's Education Consultation Office said that most of her stories of abuse were likely fabrications. They decided to shift the focus of their coaching to the child. Be cautious not to take everything the child says as truth. So it's basically a situation of the boy who cried wolf, but taken into a much more serious situation. Very, very interesting. So I guess that's why they didn't really take her case as very serious, is that she's been known to cause trouble more than once, and that was with her adoptive father. But now, with her uncle in the picture, things are different. Mion and the others, having to set up for the Watanagashi festival or something, invited me along, but I refused. You refused? Keiichi! Did you not remember what happened to you the first 2 times? Are you actively trying to get yourself killed? Well, actually, now that I think about it, he might actually be. He might actually be this time around. Of course I did. How could they be taking it easy and setting up for a festival in this situation? Mion had a lot of nerve. Looks like he's made up his mind. The first thing I did when I got back was take a shower. Not because I wanted to wash off the sweat. It was because I wanted to be even calmer. I already understood this. But killing that man would be so very easy. It really would be. Nice water ASMR. That's actually kind of calming. I can see why he wanted to do that. Does take a bit of a turn of the mood, right? I mean, I definitely would be relaxed. Of course, he is getting relaxed for committing a crime. So, of course, that would be different. The really hard thing would be not getting arrested for it. So we could get our peaceful days back. As I thought about it, I realized it wasn't easy. Japan's police force have the highest arrest rate in the world. Which is surprising, actually, considering that you would think an island that has a very strict set of politeness and a really long rudimentary set of rules wouldn't have as many crimes. But just because the place is smaller, that doesn't mean the place is any safer. You know what I mean? That's why people say when a killer is on the loose, the first place you should check is the countryside. A guy can usually hide easily in a place like that. I would need to deceitfully pull off the perfect crime. And it couldn't be a half-hearted attempt. Still, it wasn't 100%. Even the best police force in the world couldn't have a 100% arrest rate. That is true. I've read a lot of articles on trials with people brought up on false charges. They do a lot to determine whether they really were false accusations, but figuring out who the real criminal was is usually out of the question. Wow, a statement that couldn't be any truer in today's situation, right? This game truly was ahead of its time. That meant the perfect crime did exist. In fact, crimes were sort of like the works of art. They could be respected and revered. You just had to look at the innuenation of mystery novels everywhere throughout history. They dealt with all sorts of difficult-to-solve incidents, involving secret rooms and alibis and stuff, but they all wanted to show one thing. They wanted to show the beauty of a perfect crime. There was something divine in the flawlessness of the word perfect. Yes. Perfect crimes were skills of the gods. And in that sense, the serial freak deaths they were calling in the curse of Oshiro-sama, I understood. They must have been the work for gods. Each one appeared to have been resolved, but they couldn't stop it from happening every year. Yeah, skills belonging only to the gods. Those are the perfect crimes. And I would be setting up my own crime before Oyashiro-sama's series of perfect crimes 4 years running. There we go. Had to adjust my camera a little bit. Whew. If I were to put it boldly, I was challenging a god. Foolhardiness would be needed to be made the decision, but I need to be calm, cool, colder than ice to put that plan together. You literally thought this up in an afternoon. Kill him like a flame. But as systematic as ice. Starting now, I need to retain both of those ideas within me. Modeling my crime after a mystery novel wasn't actually a bad thing to focus on. Sometimes, kidnappings involving disturbing original methods that made it to the newspapers were used as a basis for novels after the person was arrested. Stuff like that made it into the news. Day and night for a long time. Mystery novel authors polish and refine their most fantastic, artistic crimes. Imitating that could be a shortcut to planning the perfect crime in a short period of time. Of course, I haven't read enough mystery novels to act all high and mighty about them. Well, that's your first problem right there, pal. The one who really liked mystery novels was my mom. She read every well-known mystery novel from overseas, from past and present. Every time she watched mystery shows, she would always be criticizing them as having cheap tricks or poorly thought out. I wonder what the perfect crime would mean to her. What do I think the most well-done perfect crime in all the mystery novels I've read is? Yeah. Well, you read quite a lot of them, right? I figured you might know a lot about them. It's more fun to read them to find out. If I told you all the tricks right off the bat, they'd be no fun anymore. It wasn't like I was asking for my own amusement. She was deflecting the question, so I would somehow have to butter her up first and draw her out an answer. Of course, Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None is my top recommendation. And Murder on the Orient Express used some great, bold tricks too. Of course, I didn't see it coming at all. Both of those are actually really good visual mystery novels. If you guys have never read any of Agatha Christie's work, I highly recommend Murder on the Orient Express. They definitely inspired quite a few things. The movie was actually pretty good too. So, hey, you can actually follow along with the movie if you have the book, in case you get bored. I did want to know which novels you liked. I wanted to know about the trick that made you the most surprised. If it was really a perfect trick, the detectives wouldn't be able to solve the case, though. That was true. Then there'd be no point. Mystery novels are enjoyable because of the process of the mysteries getting solved. If it was unsolvable, it wouldn't make a very good topic for a novel. I get it. Yeah, you're right. If the main character can't solve it, it wouldn't be much of a story, huh? Was I being too simplistic? A mystery novel was basically a game. They were written so that you can get to the goal, so that you could solve them. But I couldn't use something so optimistic. It needed to be the be-all, end-all of tricks so that we could, without a doubt, return to our old lives. By the way, Keiichi, do you understand that truly perfect crimes don't even become stories? Mom looked at me intellectually and grinned impishly. I never gotten to read it, but apparently one time, a long time ago, Mom had written her own mystery novel and submitted it for some mystery novel award. Apparently she was really into it. Don't even become stories. What does that even mean? Keiichi, what are the essential parts of a story? Beginning, middle, and end? Correct. The beginning, of course, is especially important. If there is no beginning, then the story never starts. Well, yeah. If nothing happens, nothing would begin. Right. Nothing happened, so there wouldn't even be an incident. Detectives wouldn't be called, so there wouldn't be any mystery. There would be no mystery, so there would be no solution. In other words, it would be the ultimate perfect crime. Wait a second. Could you explain that again? My mom just told me something very absurd. And she was saying it so smoothly too, so I kind of tuned her out, but she said something extremely important just now. It's not really that difficult to understand. The incident just has to never come to light. That's all. Just has to never come to light. For example, how about this? Say there's an old man living deep in the forest nobody goes into. And then one day, the old man gets killed by an axe. And, let's say the criminal was the old man's son. He went to the old man's house and they were drinking together, but they got into a fight and he killed him. One extremely cheap plot. It was an impulsive crime without a bit of planning. I mean, to be fair, there are quite a few crimes that can be committed on an impulse. So really, something like this isn't that far-fetched. It was pretty far from a perfect crime. But Keiichi, the house was really, really deep in this forest. So deep in the mountains that nobody would ever go out that far. Then his son would go back into town and say that the old man was doing fine. What about that is a perfect crime? Keiichi. This incident would only begin when it was found out that the old man was killed. If nobody ever visited the old man's house after that incident, that beginning would never occur. The beginning would never occur. So basically, the story wouldn't start. The incident wouldn't come to light, and they wouldn't call in detectives. And nobody would be suspicious in the first place, so there'd be no mystery. They'd think the old man was still living by himself deep in the forest. And the old man's face would appear in the sky, and that would be it. Something like that, you know? That's amazing. That's pretty great for a trick. But it wouldn't be a novel. Mystery novels are for entertainment, after all. They can't be instruction manuals for perfect crimes. I was trying hard and cheerfully to fool her, but inside I was excited. Special tools, strange geography, mysterious drugs, traps involving huge sums of cash. None of them were needed for perfect crimes. The important thing was that there wasn't a beginning. As long as the incident didn't come to light, it would be fine. Speaking broadly, if I could kill him without anyone finding out, and dispose of the corpse somewhere where no one could find it, it would basically already be a perfect crime. Of course, if someone up and vanished one day all of a sudden, people would get suspicious. But that didn't apply to this man. Last year, after their aunt died, he ran away from the village in fear of Oyashiro-sama. When the night of Watanagashi came around again, everyone would have to think that he ran away in fear, again. I mean, he had been living with a lover of his in town. No matter what it felt like when he vanished, no one would be suspicious. People hated him, after all. No one would care where he went if he disappeared. When I thought about it like that, it got easier and easier to imagine killing him. There was no point in thinking inside my house anymore. I left, getting my bike out of the garage. For now, it didn't matter where I was going. I just rode through the wind, trying to calm my excitement by feeling the cool air on my body. Where'd I kill him? How I do it? What time? And how to dispose of the corpse? If I just had those 4 things, I could get a good plan going. I was so surprised at how little there was to decide that I shivered. I've been completely prepared to build this humongous plan over a really long period of time. But if I can get just these little things in order, I could put it into motion. Today was Saturday. I would have to kill him on the night of Watanagashi. So as long as I was standing in for Oyashiro-sama, I had only 24 hours remaining. Satoko, just hang on for 24 more hours. I can't even imagine having to suffer through even more. But please, hold out for just a little longer. I know you can't even last another second. I know that. But please, just hold out. Your Nini will save you for sure. Outside, it was still early enough for the cicadas to be crying. Early afternoon. Evening was still a long way off. I looked at the sky. At some point, it had gotten cloudy. Come to think of it, as I left the house, I heard on the TV that the weather forecast was calling for a chance of rain on Sunday. The sky was the color of lead. If I heard a little bit of thunder, I definitely have expected a sudden evening shower. My first destination was the school. Before explaining why I was going there, I needed to explain what method for killing that man I had decided upon. I decided that the most suitable death, the one I needed to give him, was the same as last year's curse. The same as the punishment their aunt had received. Being beaten to death. Wouldn't beating him to death be somewhat unreliable? You may think that stabbing him with a blade would be more reliable. But this was something I had chosen after a lot of thought. Sorry about that. My back is really not having it today. You just needed to think realistically. The law. It prohibited carrying any blades longer than 10 centimeters, I think. 10 centimeters. Let me see. So that would be just a little over 4 inches. That's a pretty tiny blade. Thing is, though, you only need 3 inches to kill someone. So, even still, even if you had a very small blade like that, it would still be pretty handy and still considered a deadly weapon. So the blades available to me, although long enough, were limited to things shorter than a ruler. You can probably understand how tricky it would be with such a short reach to go up against an opponent that might fight back. In that case, using a weapon with reach would be far more effective. It might not have the same precision, but you just had to hit the guy until you killed him. Both options resulted in death. With that settled, what is the weapon with the most terrifying force behind it that is also easy to carry around? By this point, you should immediately think of a metal baseball bat. I don't need to explain how terrifying a metal baseball bat can be as a weapon. You definitely don't. I mean, anyone who's watched Paranoia Agent or even seen The Raid 2 would know how deadly a baseball bat can be. Hell, even most zombie movies have people carrying bats. Of special note is the fact that you can carry one around in broad daylight and not be thought of as suspicious. Just those 2 points would have been enough to choose a metal bat for my weapon. But there was one more reason for choosing a bat in particular. I will speak about that later. After school that Saturday, my classmates were still having fun playing around the schoolyard. I could show up there and it would be the same as always, so nobody would think I'm suspicious. Getting my hands on the weapon without looking suspicious was actually a factor I couldn't ignore. I didn't normally play baseball, so if I went to a sports store looking for a metal bat, it would definitely be suspicious. I can't let there be a beginning to the story, so I needed to be really careful even thinking about it. That left school. At a location at which my appearance wouldn't be suspicious, I would acquire the weapon. I checked inside the classroom through the window, but of course there was nobody there. The only students who would stay in there were me and the others when doing club activities. Without us, the classroom after school was just an empty, unused room. Without glancing around nervously, as if I'd just gone to get something I'd forgotten, I casually went to the entrance. Looks like the teacher was busy with the paperwork in the teacher's lounge. I didn't see her in the hallway. Naturally, yet quickly as a shadow, I entered the classroom. Easy there. I was really hoping to have something. Ready for that, but my brain just went blank. Batman? Nah, he used a sword once, I think. Catwoman? No. Damn, I really thought I had something clever to say, but I don't have anything. I don't know ninjas all that well. Okay, I got it. Easy there. Naruto. Yeah, that's probably my best one. Ooh. Oh. I almost completely ignored that high-pitched thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. The crazy thing about this is the way Keiichi is monologuing to himself. Really isn't that far different from how most murder cases usually start out. It always ends up being something that's caused out of circumstance. The empty room was full of a strange, stagnant air that you couldn't even feel normally. An empty classroom with nobody in here. Maybe while nobody was around, the desks creep around on their own accord, licking the floors clean of dirt. Have I suddenly stepped into a place like that? Would the desk in their surprise fly at me, crush my bones, and eat me alive? That's ridiculous. Really, what are the chances, right? I mean, what's the worst that can happen at this point, right? The desks suddenly come to life and they start crushing you out of sheer fear. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Really ridiculous. I felt regret at wasting valuable thinking time on stupid delusions. Hey, those were your thoughts, not mine. Don't blame me. The student lockers were lined up in the back of the classroom. The one I was looking for wasn't my own. It was a forbidden locker, one I had accidentally discovered one day. Here it is. Hojo. This has to be it. If one person has one locker, then why would only Satoko have two? I make a fuss about it once. After that, I learned that Satoshi's locker, and he had the same last name as her. But of course, even though it was a locker for a student no longer here, looking inside it was still a shameless act. But one time I let my curiosity get the better of me, and I took a peek inside. Inside, it was average and worthless. At the time, I hadn't been interested in it, so until now, I'd forgotten what had been in it. But now that I had, dare I say it, awakened, I remembered the thing that had been there. I opened the locker, and the stench of mold and sweat wafted out, like a gym storehouse that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. My face puckered up at the stench, but I looked for it. Yes. Satoshi was on Coach's baseball team. Inside the locker was a Hinamizawa fighter's uniform, and in it, the one Satoshi used. The metal bat. Yes. This was the reason I wanted to choose this bat. This murder would be carried out by me. But this wasn't originally my role. It was Satoshi's. But I would stand in for him and call myself Satoko's Nini. It was one of the rules for standing in for him. I reached for the metal bat, and I grasped it firmly. It was light, and yet its tip has enough heft in it, enough to easily imagine the horror if I brought it down with all my might. Satoshi, I'll give you one last chance to save your sister. Lend me your strength. You're a coward, but I will stand in for you. So if you still care, even just a little bit about her, you will lend me your strength. There is no more suitable weapon in the world for putting that man to death than your bat. Now, I just needed to figure out where to hide it. Tomorrow, before the act, I would just stop by the school and grab it. Because I couldn't ignore the possibility someone would see me bringing it home and thinking it was strange. But if I left it here, there wouldn't be a problem. Plus, tomorrow was Sunday. Not only that, it was the day of the biggest festival in the whole world. Nobody would be coming to school. I left out the entrance and went over to a construction vehicle parked nearby. We've been warned by our teachers not to touch it just for laughs, so none of the kids would come near the vehicle either. They wouldn't. Because if she found out they touched it, they'd be in huge trouble. I quietly hid it in the shadow of the vehicle. The chances of someone operating the vehicle tomorrow were slim to none. Because tomorrow was a Sunday. Government workers had the day off. And, from what my classmates had said, the thing they had been left here has been for years now. Machines that haven't been moved in years? You can't just suddenly start them up again. I mean, technically, you could. The real question lies in why. So I was almost definitely fine in this case. The sunlight was piercing hot. My head grew faint for a moment. Had the heat been this harsh for the entire day? The moment of dulled thoughts like this was a moment of carelessness. I gave myself a couple of hits in the head, then looked around warily. Okay. Next, how to dispose of the corpse. How do you get rid of a corpse without anyone noticing you? Perhaps it involves magic. Disposing of a corpse. The ultimate way was not to create a beginning, was not to let the corpse be found. It was even more important than killing him. Thinking on it vaguely, the first thing that came to mind was the swamp. Onigafuchi, the dreadful bottomless swamp, revered even now, that appeared in the legends of Onigafuchi Village. Yes, the swamp called Onigafuchi was here first, and then the village took its name to become Onigafuchi Village. In other words, this swamp was the origin of Onigafuchi Village. No one, no matter who it was, would float back into the surface of this bottomless swamp. Everyone would be swallowed down into the land of the demons below the earth. That was how the story went. If I was trying to copy Shiro-sama's curse, then I felt that theory demanded I discard the remains and the weapons into the swamp. But they may have said it was bottomless, but I didn't actually know. And people say large creatures like humans produce a lot of gas when they rot, granting them a lot of buoyancy. It was why using fairly heavy objects to hold them down, people down, didn't work. Come to think of it, with the curse the year before last, Rika-chan's mother drowned herself in this swamp. And the criminal behind the dismemberment that went missing for the year of the first curse too. It was rumored he tried to discard the body in the swamp and accidentally drowned in it. I've never heard of the corpse coming back up, or them finding it. Then, shouldn't I choose to discard the corpse there too? I could discard the weapon there. And then, for example, if her uncle came out on a motorcycle and attacked, it would be convenient to get rid of the bike too. I knew that Satoko's uncle generally used a motorcycle for transportation. But as for the corpse... After a lot of worrying, I decided not to discard the corpse in the swamp. The drowning, suicide, and the accident were both rumors. Nobody knew if they actually happened. There was no lack of false rumors about the drowning suicide anyway, and it was possible the murderer hadn't drowned there and was still on the run. That meant no one had ever confirmed a corpse being dropped in there and then not coming back up. Then, what would I do with the body? I thought it might be interesting to go with the first incident, cut him into pieces and hide him. But the preparation and work for dismembering a human body would be difficult given the amount of time I had. With that out of the question, I arrived at the conclusion to go with the more orthodox method of burying the body. Then where would I bury it? Was a question related to where I would kill him. Of course, I wanted to keep my time and proximity to the body at minimum. With that in mind, I would want to dig the hole to dump the body in beforehand, and to make the location of the act and the hole closer together. The choice of where to plan the crime, that I needed to be absolutely careful and thorough with. It had to be somewhere nobody would witness it, and a place with hiding places for a sneak attack. I could dig a hole for the body right there. I go over the possibilities in my head of the various destinations her uncle would head to from Satoko's house. I imagined a map of the area in my head. And then, I found a place that fulfilled those conditions so easily, it was almost unbelievable. A bit of a back road that went through the woods. I didn't think her uncle would go deeper into the mountains of Higurashi on a whim. If he was going somewhere, he passed through these woods first. And nobody used this back way unless they had something to do at Satoko's house, or one or two other places. This path was fantastically ideal, as few people actually used it. I would wait for him in these woods. Would an ambush actually be possible? I went to the trees and tried really hiding myself in a few places. It was extremely quiet. My senses could be sharpened here to their maximum amount. I didn't know when he'd come, but I'd wait right here for Satoko's uncle. I actually had trouble coming to that decision. The question arose of whether I should somehow call the man out. Was there a risk I'd be taking by luring him here? That man made Satoko do all the shopping and errands. He seldom left on his own business. He wouldn't leave unless I worked out a plan to force him to, would he? That was the question. Tomorrow was the Watanagashi festival. Would he go out for the festival, or would he stay inside? If he stood inside, how would I drag him out of his house? That's right. Wouldn't he make Satoko go to the festival? Satoko would go to the festival. Meanwhile, I would call the man. This is the Okinomiya police station. We have the young lady from your house. Could you come and pick her up immediately? It didn't even have to be the police. This is the clinic. The young lady from your house has been injured. Please come and pick her up. Yes, that would work too. If I claimed to be the police or the hospital, told him to come and then hung up on him, he'd rush trying to figure out what was going on, wouldn't he? And just the other day, he was visited by a probation officer. He wouldn't suddenly grumble about having to get his niece and not go with it. It would look like child neglect. The man had no skills useful around the house. Satoko, his slave, was an essential part of his daily life. Conclusion. If he went out to the festival, I would attack him here on his way there or back. If he didn't, I would lure him out by phone. If luring him out by phone was my first step, I needed to be sure Satoko would go to the festival, leaving the house. It would be convenient if I could make Mion take Satoko to the festival. She said that her aunt was a district welfare officer. In other words, an ally to the probation officer. If I somehow incited Mion to take Satoko to the festival with her, well, being who she was, she'd use that fact to get her there. Satoko should just take a break and have fun at the festival with everyone. She should have a good time, reminisce on our former peaceful days. And when she was home, everything would be over. Yeah, that would be the best outcome. With that decided, I needed to dig a hole somewhere in the woods to hide the body. So it wouldn't stand out, so it wouldn't be found. Someplace nobody would see me while I was completely exposed, as I buried the corpse. I wanted it to be close to the scene of the crime, but naturally, it grew farther away. Deep in the bosom of the Black Forest. The voices of the Higurashi were the only sounds here informing me that people shouldn't indiscreetly set foot in this place. Digging a hole, huh? Digging a hole with so many tree roots crawling around the ground would be far more difficult than I envisioned. Excuse me. I'm a little sleepy right now. Sorry about that, folks. That's what I get for skipping out on the coffee today. Well, it shouldn't be too long now, though. We'll see how much longer we'll go. Maybe another hour or so. But I'm really excited, and I wanted to read this with you guys. So, we'll do a little more. Still, as I looked into various approaches, I managed to find a place I could dig into. Tomorrow, I'd bring a real shovel from the storeroom at my home. I managed with that. I wonder how big a hole would have to be to fit a human all the way into it. I'd probably have to dig pretty deep down. But if I was slipshod in these efforts, I'd let a beginning occur. I absolutely couldn't allow that to happen. Use any amount of time you need to. I mustn't spare any effort to utterly erase him. I glanced at my wristwatch. It was a little past 6. This was probably all I was going to get done here for today. I really wanted to dig the hole in advance tonight, even if it got dark out. But Mom would be upset if I stayed out that late. It wouldn't be good to come off as suspicious to my parents. I needed to go back home and give Mion a call soon. I need to get her to promise Satoko to take her by tonight. After that, today would be done. Done. Would it be, though? Was this really everything I could do to prepare right now? I decided where to kill him. I decided how to kill him. I decided, of course, how to dispose of the body. I didn't decide on a time, but I would play that by ear. I didn't have a way to decide that. Was that really all? Was this really all right? Well, I mean, you're committing a crime, so none of this is okay. Have I overlooked anything? There's a lot that killers can overlook. If there's one thing that most people forget when planning something this big, it's that very tiny, minuscule part of unpredictability. I think I know the best example for this. If you ever watched the movie Scarface with Al Pacino, there was a scene where they planted a bomb in someone's car, and he was going to give a speech out. They were planning to kill him while they were on the road with that bomb. And it looked like he was about to leave. But, what happens next is the car turns around and picks up his 2 children. And Tony goes, "I thought you said the kids went with his mother." "I did." And then that's when things take a turn. That's when you realize, even if you have the best, well thought out, foolproof plan you could ever come up with, there is that little notion of unpredictability that can throw your plans completely out of the way. There's a risk to everything you take. The chances of going something wrong isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. All you do when you make a plan is trying to mitigate any sort of backlash that you find. And with something like this, it seems that Keiichi has thought out everything. But he doesn't take into account for the what ifs. What if the worst case scenario happens and the uncle just hangs up the phone? What if the worst case scenario happens and he goes into the festival? What if he finds out that it was him on the phone calling him and pretty much tracks him down? Or even more so, let's say Keiichi is successful. What if someone just happened to go down this path? Like, say, one of his drinking buddies. Or maybe some tourists who are trying to do some bird watching. A surveyor trying to make a map. Or a botanist that's cataloging plants. Or maybe just a couple of innocent hikers who just happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. See, it doesn't get that much easier when you realize that there's a lot more at stake. Very few people prepare that level of planning skill. And I think that's why, even though Keiichi has the makings of a perfect murder, there is a lot of stuff that could happen to him that could work against him. That being said, I am curious how this plays out. Would this really go how I planned? After all, worries started welling up one after another. It was only natural I'd be anxious. This would be the first and last big job of my lifetime. You see, there's the issue there. Usually when people say one last job, they're not always in it full-heartedly. And sometimes that last job really does end up being the last job of their life, because that's the one that gets them killed. I could not allow failure, and I had no experience, as this was my first time. I didn't have the know-how, the knack, so it was only natural I'd be anxious. The dark clouds of unease told me doing nothing would be the easiest way. A truly pathetic suggestion this late in the game. Have you forgotten how miserable Satoko looked? From outside, it may have looked like I was resolute, but deep in my heart, my knees were shaking loudly. I've never actually won a single fight to my satisfaction. Could I really kill someone? I might have been planning an ambush, but my enemy was larger and far older than me. He had a scary face, and he looked like he was well accustomed to fighting. Could I have... All the pieces before and after the murder were perfectly planned. But the actual murder, the most important part, what unsettled me the most? All my preparations, all my perfectly concealed machinations. If I didn't successfully murder him, they amounted to nothing. Damn it! After coming this far, you are pathetic, Keiichi Mabara. If you start to have these kinds of second thoughts, your ulterior motive will be obvious. Let's go home. Go home and calm your mind. Tomorrow will be a juncture in your life, the likes of which graduation, employment, marriage, and childbirth couldn't hold a candle to. A day of murder, to kill someone for someone else's sake. With that day behind us, we would take it back again. Those mild spring-like days we never thought would stop. Those safe, peaceful, fun times. I pedaled my bike hard to get back home. I felt somehow unsteady. Like my body and soul weren't in alignment. A subtle shift between where the tips of my hands and feet really were and where I felt them to be. My vision was a little distant and narrow. As if the great barrier I risked my future life on had nothing to do with me. An unreal sensation. How can I even put it? Everything was so far away. Fine. Feel your unease permeate you, Keiichi Mabara. If that will turn your timidity into meticulousness and allow you to act with greater caution, then it's actually an important emotion to feel. The feeling I had never went away that night. It was the first time I'd be calling Mion's house. I searched for her in the phone book the school gave me. then dialed a short phone number, the kind unique to remote places. It was around dinner time. She would probably be home. But just as I started to think nobody would respond, someone finally picked up the receiver. Hello, this is Sonozaki. I'm sorry for calling so late at night. Is this Mion? Huh? May I ask who's calling? It's me, Keiichi. Oh. Kei-chan. It's pretty late. What's up? She seemed to be in a weirdly good mood, and she drew out her syllabuses out. Right. It's the night before tomorrow's festival, so she's probably with her family having some drinks. Sorry for the late call. Do you have time right now? Sure, what is it? It's about Satoko. I heard her drawing a small breath on the other end. Satoko... she's in a pretty bad spot. I hope she's okay. The scent of sake had completely disappeared from her voice. She can't be okay. You saw too, didn't you? What she was like? She was completely worn out from all that abuse. We failed her all this time, and now she's become like that. We didn't fail her. Everyone tried their hardest to help her. But we didn't come up with anything, and we couldn't save her. In the end, we couldn't do anything about it, and now she's become like that. I guess you're right. All I did was watch after all. So, well, at least... couldn't we at least let her have fun for one night? Huh? Let her have fun? She's been so battered lately, you understand? That's why I want you to take her to the Watanagashi festival tomorrow. Oh, I don't mind. But why? Why? I want to give her a breather at least for the festival night, you know? Even if it's just for one night. If she can get away from that evil uncle, then I think she'll be happy, even if it's only for a little while. Yes. But why? Why? Why what? I was having a little difficulty understanding what Mion was asking me. Why? Well, I mean, why don't you bring her, Kei-chan? Why do you need to ask me to do it? Mion was persistent about odd ththings. No, maybe it'd be better to say that she was sharp. I actually have something to do tomorrow. I can't make it to the festival. So I wanted you to take Satoko there for me. Something to do? It's nothing major. I'll probably finish quickly, but I might not be able to meet up with all of you tomorrow. Hey, Mion. Could I leave Satoko to you just for tomorrow night? Mion took a long time to give her reply. I got the feeling that Mion had been acting weird for a while now. Like she was flustered by emotions. Or something. No. Huh? Was that a sob? Mion? Are you crying? I said no. I don't want to. I don't want you to push this onto someone like me. I'm not trying to push anything onto you. It's just for tomorrow night. That was a lie. What? Mion, what was she talking about? Saying it's just for the night of Watanagashi. And then it was forever. Liar. But I guess we're even, huh? I couldn't keep that promise I made with you. I left her alone. All alone all this time. I had no idea what to say about that. Mion was clearly talking to someone other than me. I didn't know who, though. All I could do was listen to her in a daze. You never came back after that. And now you call me again? To push her onto me? You're so unfair. Hey, you're Satoshi-kun, aren't you? Oh. Oh, boy. This just got much more interesting. Mion? What are you talking about? When I said her name, whatever spell was on Mion was released. I'm sorry. It's nothing. It's just that I got a phone call a lot like the one you're making now. A long time ago. Was it from Satoshi? Mion didn't answer. All I could hear were sobs coming through the receiver. Sorry. I think I'm still a little tipsy. I got all weirdly emotional. Sorry, I probably scared you. I had no idea how it happened. But I was pretty sure that last year on this very day, Satoshi had called Mion and told her to bring Satoko to the festival. And when she asked why he needed her to do it, he replied the same way I did. Satoshi, he didn't go to the festival, did he? Yeah. He said he had something to do and couldn't make it. And he told me to take Satoko there in his place. At the time, Satoshi said it too, didn't he? That he'd leave Satoko to you. Yeah, he did. Just for tomorrow night. The way you said it, it was just like how he did. I just got a little upset. Caught in a memory and all. I didn't expect this. Satoshi had given her the exact same phone call 1 year ago today. Mion kept going on after that. That he was lying. That he told her it would only be for the night at the festival. I get it. A few days later, Satoshi, he disappeared. Disappeared might have been a rather vague way of putting it. Whether he ran away or not, Satoshi left, abandoning Satoko. Yes. He didn't transfer or run away from home. He disappeared. And then, an idea far more indistinct than even fog crossed my mind. Satoshi made exactly the same phone call as me last year. Why would Satoshi make the exact same call? If, in the truest sense, he really made the exact same phone call as I am right now, then the incident where the aunt was beaten to death, that's... could it? You know? It just might. It could have been possible. You never know. Sometimes all it takes for someone to do that is one bad day. But if that was the case, that still doesn't explain why Satoshi never came back home. There's still a lot of unanswered questions. Was Satoshi... Huh? What was that? Last year, Satoko had been constantly abused by her uncle's wife. Their aunt, too. Her aunt abused her the most. And on that night, in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse, she was taken from this world. If I thought about it like that, everything made perfect sense, didn't it? Last year, Satoko's aunt was beaten to death, wasn't she? Would it be impossible for Satoshi to have... No, but that would mean... But then, Satoshi... He was a coward who abandoned Satoko and ran away, wasn't he? How could Satoshi resolve himself to kill a person to save Satoko? It was unthinkable. I actually considered that as well. Though, it'd be mean to Satoshi. A few days later, he disappeared. On Satoko's birthday. When I first heard of it, I flew into a rage. What a cruel day to have run away on. But now that I thought about it like this, the story changed completely now. Satoshi had probably been even less calm than I was now. He was her big brother, related by blood, watching his little sister being abused day in and day out. Maybe that's why he couldn't keep calm. And that was why the corpse of their aunt was so easily discovered. Satoshi lost himself in anger and hadn't hidden the corpse. He permitted a beginning to occur. If the police conducted a full-blown investigation, it was easy to imagine that they wouldn't have taken long to pin down Satoshi as the culprit. Satoshi. He wished for a return to peaceful days with Satoko, and though he achieved it for a time, he had been steadily driven into a corner. And then he wanted to at least hold out until Satoko's birthday, but finally, they nailed him. At the time, Satoshi had been carrying the savings he had amassed to buy Satoko a giant stuffed animal for a birthday present. He would buy the stuffed animal as her gift and then get caught. Or he could have used the money and disappear. That was the choice that he had been forced to make. He decided not to make Satoko the sister of a murderer. Well then, if that was the case, then it must have been an unspeakably bitter decision. All that money he'd saved wanting to see Satoko happy, he had to use it to make her sad. And he used the savings and disappeared to Tokyo, if the rumors were true. Was that how Satoshi disappeared? I don't know. That Oishi guy seems to think that way, though. Oishi. Had he been slowly driven into a corner by that repulsive man's pig-headed pursuit? The circumstantial evidence is all there, but I think your deduction is wrong. They caught some crazy drug addict somewhere in the prefecture, and he apparently turned himself in for the crime. That was right. The deviant had confessed, and the incident was solved. They said he really was just a crazy person, and he had no ties to Hinamizawa. And no relationship with Satoshi, of course. I mean, I have a pretty hard time believing the guy would lie in Satoshi's place. You couldn't arbitrarily decide like that. You never know where or how humans are tied together. If that guy took the blame, then it was the perfect crime. Of course, if it really was a perfect crime, there would have been no reason for Satoshi to vanish. Plus, I don't think Satoshi had the kind of money to run away. That day he withdrew all his savings. No matter who I tell this to, nobody believes me. But that stuffed animal he said he was buying for Satoko, it was gone from the display. Sold. It must have been Satoshi. Wait a minute. If he didn't use the money to flee and bought the stuffed animal instead, he would have gone back to Satoko, wouldn't he? It seems unbelievable he'd buy it, and then disappear without half giving it to her. Yeah. So, now I don't know what happened. It would be one thing if he had the money, but if he used all his savings on it, he'd be totally broke. You can't live a life on the run without money in this world. That is true, no matter how you say it. I didn't get it. After all that, I was understanding Satoshi less and less. The two of us fell silent. I couldn't remember how we even got on this topic. Sorry. I think we got off topic. Satoko, right? Don't worry. I actually already invited her. Huh? You serious? When everyone went to the shrine to prepare for the festival, we started talking about getting Satoko to the festival itself. So then I used the phone at the assembly hall to invite her. Her uncle was acting distant and didn't seem to care at all, but in any case, we got the okay from him. We decided to all meet up and go together tomorrow. You okay with that? Satoshi? Stupid. I'm not Satoshi. I was a little relieved. I hadn't needed to make the phone call. Satoko had already been invited to the festival. And not in the way that smelled of blood, a way to leave her uncle alone to create time for me to kill him. They purely wanted Satoko to enjoy herself, so they invited her. In the end, it was the same, but I was happy for that slight difference. Sorry. I guess I didn't need a call then. First yesterday, now today. Sorry for saying such weird things. Just forget about it. No, I'm the one that should be apologizing. Losing it like that isn't like me. I'm really sorry. We apologized to each other for a little bit. Alright. I'll be going now. Good night. What did you have to do? As if interrupting our parting words, Rion struck straight where it hurt. Or is it like with Satoshi, where you can't say? Oh wait, hold on. Sorry about that, guys. Guess someone got locked out of the house. Why she doesn't bring her key is beyond me, but you know what? That's just life. Can never get a moment's peace in this place. I swear. Anyway, let's get going. Stupid. I keep telling you I'm not Satoshi. Yeah, I know that. I deflected her with a response that wasn't really an answer. Mion didn't hound me anymore after that. Alright, this time for real. Good night. I don't know why you're giving me the same phone call as Satoshi-kun did, but... yeah, never mind. I'm sorry. Good night. I'm hanging up. Click. Satoshi Hojo. Just who are you? I scorned you as a coward who ran away, abandoning his sister. I always thought you didn't have the right to call yourself her Nini. But now I didn't know what to think. Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 4th year, their aunt's death, and Satoshi's disappearance. And now me, trying to carry out Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 5th. Oddly enough, what I was going to do overlaps perfectly with Satoshi, the day before the curse. No, that wasn't it at all. If we start back from when Satoko was being abused, then I'd be overlapping with Satoshi for days already. When I talked to Mion before, she asked me if I was Satoshi. If that was the first impression a third party like Mion got, then it was probably true. Then Satoshi accomplished, I would succeed in the murder. But that was the extent to where we overlapped. I was far calmer than Satoshi, more calculating. I could actually grow calmer the more enthusiastic I became. That's why I wouldn't follow in Satoshi's footsteps. I would snip him cleanly out of this world and then get our peaceful life back. Maybe Satoshi has been with me ever since I chose to use Satoshi's bat as my weapon. No, maybe even longer than that. When I decided I'd be her Nini, maybe Satoshi had been residing within me then too. Satoshi, were you really a coward? Or are you a true Nini even now? The kind worthy of Satoko's love? I never met him, never spoke of him, didn't even know his face. And yet, I felt so connected to him. I never felt that way before. Very interesting indeed. Still, all of this just raises even further questions. For the attention of those on the possessed, make your choice without looking back. Alright. Let's check it out. July 1982. Okonomiya Police Station, 1st Investigative Division, Chief Takasugi. Prefecture Police Headquarters for the Eradication of Drug-Related Crime, Shishiron Branch Head. Regarding incident designated as undercover investigation. This message is to inform you that a section of the testimony records of an incident under this police headquarters jurisdiction has been found that is thought to be related to the undercover investigation of the incident in question, Okinomiya Police Station X Hinabazawa Village housewife slaughter incident. During investigation of the suspect, who was arrested for possession of illegal drugs, there was testimony related to the crime in question, and as part of it, we learned that the criminal had information only he could have known. Therefore, this record of testimony, duplicate attached, will be provided to you. If this testimonial is to be believed, then there is an extremely high chance that the suspect was the culprit behind the incident in question. In addition, the head investigator of the case received this report and inquired as to the incident within the Okinomiya police station. But the responsible party at Okinomiya Station, who responded to designated undercover investigation announced by the Prefectural Police's General Director on July 1st, 1982, Asamu Fukasane, B112, misunderstood and did not explain the incident existence to the head investigator on the case properly. Because of this, the case's head investigator was not aware of the importance of the testimony as it was related to the case in question, and as a result... Damn, there's a lot. As a result, was negligent when combining the scene. We apologize for having left it in the dark until now. Well, that's just bad police work there. That's your problem. In addition, there's a postscript stating that the suspect died while in confinement yesterday on XXX. Wait, they died while in captivity? Interesting. Alright. Alright. I hate to end it at this point, but right now I'm out of time. So, we're gonna have to pick this up another time. Again, I apologize, but life is just not letting me have it today. Oh well. C'est la vie. You can only do so much with the time you got. Still, feels good to be back with Higurashi. I really enjoy it. And it was interesting to try it with this model. There's still a little bit of scuff. A little bit of scuff. It's not exactly perfect, but it does the job. Okay. Well, that is all for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. We'll continue tomorrow with something else. I haven't decided yet. Maybe Galarians, maybe something else. We'll see. For now, though, let me take you to somewhere. Let's see, who is currently streaming today? That would be pretty relevant today. That is Bright. You know what? Let's right into Keiichi. He's celebrating his 4th year streaming, which is a really big ups to him. I really enjoy him and Bodega's little streams with House of Fata Morgana, which is another VN on my list. So stay tuned for that. Gonna raid into him. Let's see how he's doing. So, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this little stream. If anything you'd like to see, please follow us on social media. And as always, respect the classics.